Right now it is 11:50 p.m. I had to wait until this moment to record this video. It's been a hell of a day, and finally I found a moment of peace and quiet. So I begin recording this on Christmas Eve, and I will finish recording it on Christmas Eve, albeit the very early hours of the morning. And I decided to just do a very easy, very simple, very just a plain old whispered ramble video. So here we go. You know, I must admit that I had so many plans, and as often with filling your plate with too many events, too many scheduled activities, when something happens and disaster strikes, all those plans suddenly get thrown up in the air and you don't really know what will happen. You know, I spent a lot of last week sick, and then, you know, my accident this week meant that everything was just up in the air, and all my plans, which had been regimented specifically and fastidiously, I scheduled them. Suddenly, I get to Christmas Eve, and I still have everything to do, and there's never enough time in the day. You know, I find that a lot recently. You know, sometimes people just place so much on your shoulders and seem to do very little themselves, while expecting you to do everything for them. And then when it comes to doing your own work, you know, I find that being freelance and working from home a lot, people get really, really complacent. They suddenly rely on you a lot, like you don't work at all. And that really gets to me, because then I have to do all their stuff, worry about all their things that they need to do, whilst putting myself on the back burner. And you know, oftentimes that leaves me working at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and nobody wants to be working at that time. Nobody wants to be working. Nobody wants to be working. Nobody wants to be working at that time. You know, that is something that I'm gonna have to change, because I can't help everybody. They need to sort things out themselves, because nobody helps me. So that is something that I'm gonna have to just enough. So there we go. And it is Christmas Eve. Shortly to be Christmas Eve in 4 minutes. Christmassy, and it has this, I don't know, romantic twist. It's this ultimate Christmas romance, and I remember watching it for the very first time. I think I must have been about 9 or 10, while you were sleeping, with Sandra Bullock. And she plays Lucy. And Lucy is a ticket operator in New York on the railway, I think. And there's this guy that comes through every morning, buys a ticket, and gets on the train. And she doesn't know him. She doesn't know anything about him, but after seeing him every day for however long she's worked there, she's fallen in love with him. Or she thinks she has. Until one morning, something happens, and he gets knocked onto the track and he hits his head, and he goes to the hospital, and something happens, and the nurses believe that she's his fiancée, and then his family come in and the nurses say, "Hey, have you met his fiancée?" And suddenly she has to kind of go along with this story that she's his fiancée. And while this is happening, it's important to note that she is an orphan. Her mother died when she was very, very young, and she was raised by her father, and she has no other family. And she lives alone in this apartment building, and this really creepy son of the landlord is into her, but she's not having it. No, she's not. And she has this cat, and the family are really keen to get to know her. You know, their son, their brothers, their fiancé. So while he's in this coma, everyone thinks she's his fiancée, and she kind of falls in love with the family. You know, she doesn't have any brothers and sisters, and she doesn't have parents so while this is happening, this guy who's in the coma, he has a brother, and Lucy gets she actually falls in love with the brother, Jack. It's quite funny. It's a very good film. I don't know, I feel like they don't make romantic comedies like that anymore, but it's such a typical romantic comedy for the 90s. And very, very Sandra Bullock like. Very Sandra Bullock like, if you know what I mean. So I think that is always a must watch for Christmas. I think it's a very sweet, romantic Christmas comedy. I think anyway. I loved it the first time I ever watched it. And I watched it Reese Witherspoon, I thought would take over that role, but I don't think that happened. I don't know why, but I can't think of a good romantic comedy with a good actress who plays those roles. I can't think of one. I complain about it a lot, but Hollywood really sucks now for movies. There's no stories to tell. There is no new stories to tell. No new stories to tell. And, you may think, hey, it didn't strike me as the kind of romantic type, and you would be right. But a good film is a good film. And also, what I've discovered recently, what I've discovered is this. You'll find someone who you will suddenly